All right, so I'm about to do something that I don't want to do, but I really don't have much choice. It's the first, it's the first day of June, and it's just starting to rain, and it's a bit chilly, and it's not ideal for opening a hive. But and I haven't been able to do a full inspection of this hive so far this year because it's just been too bloody cold. This colony is, I can tell it's doing well, but I'm not going to have a chance to inspect it for the next 2 weeks because the weather's garbage. It's going to be cold and rain, drizzle, and fog. So I won't be able to inspect it, but I think it's doing really well. So I don't want it to reach a point where the bees might run out of space and start thinking about swarming. So I've got a box over here. It's a medium. This is a 3 medium hive I have. And I got another medium box over here with drawn comb and capped honey frames that are going to go right in the middle, and then capped honey on the sides, and then empty drawn comb on the side, so that the middle has honey and room for this queen to lay. This is going to screw up all the thermodynamics that they've established in this hive so far this year. It wouldn't be so bad if it was warmer, because then you can add boxes and it doesn't screw things up as much. But when it's still cold, the thermodynamics that they've regulated inside their hive, it's precious. They really got it all worked out, and now this is going to screw it up. But I have to give it to them because I just don't want them to run out of space. I'm not going to be able to check on them for the next 2 weeks. So let's hope for the best. Okay. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Oh yeah, this is drone comb. Oh yeah, so they're ready. They're doing okay. They're clustering. They're still clustering down below. I think what happened is they actually began expanding the brood nest down into the hive. Whoop, shit, that's great. Always good to vibrate the hive. Anyway, so that's the best I can do. I mean, here it is, June 1st on the Avalon Peninsula here on the island of Newfoundland, and here's the bees. They're starting to build some burr comb, all kinds of stuff. I mean, they're doing good. So I just have to hope for the best. Just hope that this doesn't screw things up too bad. I gave them a fair bit of capped honey, like frames just full of absolutely capped honey, because that capped honey is excellent insulation. And so hopefully it won't, even though they've got essentially an empty box up top, it won't, hopefully that capped honey, I'm hoping it won't screw up the thermodynamics of the hive too much. But this is all I can do. And this year has been just gangbusters for these gigantic Newfoundland slugs. They've just been living inside my hives, but I think a strong colony can handle it, but the ones that might be having trouble, they get overrun by the slugs. I don't know, just a theory, just an hypothesis. Okay, hold on. So this is gonna, and I'd rather do this on a warm day, but again, there are no warm days in the forecast. I just can't do it. I can't risk it. So they're doing really well, and I want them to continue to do well. So I'm just going to give them the space and the honey and things that they need, and hopefully they'll get some nice warm days once in a while so they can forage. Things are starting to bloom, but again, it's just rain, drizzle, and fog in the forecast for the next 2 weeks. So I don't know if they're going to be able to get out, but hopefully they've got what they need to keep going, and the queen can continue to lay eggs, and they'll continue to build up the brood nest. I hope. Anyway, it's been an excellent colony, and I just don't want them to fall back. I don't want them to run out of resources because of the cold and crappy weather. And in case they're building up and the queen is laying, and it looks like she is, I don't want them to run out of space for the queen to lay. I don't want them to get into a swarming condition. So it's a real weird balance that I'm trying to pull off here. But yeah, so it was a 3 medium colony going into winter. No top entrance, just a wide open bottom entrance with a mouse guard. No wrap, really thick insulation up top over the inner cover, and it's just been beautiful. And you just want to hold on to that, and you want to just keep that momentum going. But Cold weather doesn't help. And not being able to get inside the hive and do a full hive inspection. I haven't been able to pull any frames from this hive at all. I've been able to give them some fondant and some pollen, but other than that, I haven't been able to actually confirm what's going on by looking into the frame. So it's real, it's a real crapshoot kind of, and I guess I'm just relying on all my experience since 2010 to just guide me in the right direction here. But as far as I can tell, they're in fantastic shape. But it's so easy for things to just go off the rails, even when things are going great, because the colony is building up, queen's laying eggs, drones are being produced, everything is going great. But again, if we get cold weather for the next 2 weeks, what are they going to do? The queen stops laying as much, the cluster contracts, and they just go into sort of standby mode and don't really do anything. And I want them to just keep doing stuff. I want them to keep expanding. And it's just, it's weird, man. It really makes me question the natural aspects of beekeeping on the Avalon here in Newfoundland, because man, this seems like just the worst place to keep bees. This is not what a subtropical insect would want to live in, but we're forcing them to live here, and it's just, you got to keep pulling every trick out of the book to keep them humming, so to speak. I think up here we still have honey that they had over the winter, and the cluster was up here for a while as it ate through its honey going up through the winter. It started in the bottom and moved its way up to the top. And then the queen started laying eggs, and all these empty frames that they cleared out over the winter that used to have honey in them, the queen is laying eggs down there and laying more down here. I can see just from the way the bees are coming out the bottom entrance when it's sunny out, the brood nest has got to be in this area right here. So, and this honey up there, so it's perfect. Like they're really working it out themselves. And now all the heat's going up here, right? So that, I would think that they're just going to shift the brood nest up here, because the queen does tend to go where the heat is. This will cause the brood nest to move up. And sometimes we reverse the brood boxes. We take a brood box up top in the spring and we move it down here, and then we put an empty box up top, and it's called reversing sometimes. But I think that doesn't always pay out well, because really what you're doing is you're changing the thermodynamic setup of the hive, so that now they've got an empty space up there where you think the queen is going to lay, but you've also moved all the heat up there, so the queen is just going to move up there and start laying, and all this stuff will just hatch out and they'll move up there. The whole reversing thing doesn't always work out, and man, these crows are just having a field day here. Just, the nest is somewhere. The nest is just somewhere like over that next tree over there. And they hear me, and they make a racket. Anyway, so those are my random thoughts about what's going on here. I'll continue to run this colony sort of in the condensing hive configuration, which is basically no top entrance, just the bottom entrance. They seem to be reacting well to that setup, or doing well in that setup. So I'll just keep it going and just hope to hell that, the weather improves and the bees do something. Here in Flat Rock, I've had colonies that just, in other locations, would produce, easily 100 pounds of honey, which I've had. But here in Flat Rock, I'd be lucky to get like one medium super out of them, because they build up, but it's just so cold, and they can't forage, and everything that they need to, grow into a strong, robust colony just, disappears as the summer moves on. And right now, first day of June, and it's just nothing but fog and cold temperatures. Nothing going over 20, barely going over 15 for the next 2 weeks. Could change, but it really looks pretty grim. That's why they call it January. Anyhow, so that's that. I did it. It stopped raining, and I got to do it again tomorrow on another hive in a different location that's also booming and just taking off. But they could be running low on honey, so I have more. I have another box with some frames of honey and some drawn comb, and I think I'll actually put some fondant and pollen sub on that other hive too, because I think it might need a little extra. I just don't want them to starve. So here you go. This is it, man. Good times. And these things are starting to come out. This is the alder bushes, kind of like a part of the birch family. And once this pollen dries up, you'll see the bees all over it. It's nice. I have a cherry tree that's just started to blossom out here in Flat Rock. We don't have any maple trees blossoming quite yet, but we're getting there. This is the dogberry tree. This is, I think, a chuckly pear, but I'm not sure. And it all just, you know. Oh, over here is this is really cool. These little plants here. This is my little field of fireweed, and that's in August. That's going to go nuts. And we got some dandelions, of course. They're all closed up because it's cold. And you know, maybe we'll get something. Maybe we won't. The last time I opened them up, they looked like there was more bees in there than there is now. But I also saw brood drone comb in there, so that's a good sign. They don't build drone comb until they have what I think of as an excess of resources. Drones are sort of expendable. It's only when they've got a good flow of something coming in that they'll say, okay, we can make drones now. Once you got drones, then you know you've got a colony that could swarm, because new queens that are produced through swarm cells can't mate unless they're a drone. So they're not going to do anything like that until you have drones emerging. And by the looks of it, I would say drones are. I just took a quick look, and I would say that drones are going to emerge within the next couple weeks. So even if they produced a queen, the drones will get out before the queen. So the timing is, they got it all worked out. They know what they're doing, more than we do. And these are just empty supers. Some of them are empty supers. Some of them are full of comb, like this one. I have a lot of stuff that I don't use anymore because I've reduced my my beekeeping for this summer down to just less than 5 now. I think it is. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. So I'm down to 4 now, and it might be down to 3, which is great because I have another project that I'm working on this summer, and I'm just one man. I can't do it all by myself. So it seems that I forgot to plug up that top entrance, and I came back a few hours later and I saw the bees were up here crowding that entrance. And you know, you see that the bees up here and you think, oh yeah, there must be lots of bees covering, you know, filling the boxes if they're coming up to the top entrance. But in this case, clearly they're not. They were just got another box and they just moved up. And I think what happened, this is my thought, is the bees, they come up to this top entrance because all the heat is coming out of the hive, pouring out of the hive, and they're blocking that top entrance to reduce the ventilation, to slow down the amount of heat that's escaping from the hive. If they could, they would probably block that whole thing with their bodies just to keep the heat in. So I'm blocking it up myself and letting them not have to worry about it. But you know, that's just one possible interpretation. But there are so many little things like that I think we can interpret or misinterpret in our bees, and we always seem to interpret the best. Here's another sign of my desperation. The queen in this colony is failing. I don't think she's completely run out of steam, but she's had problems, and she's just not building up, especially in this cold, damp, crappy weather. So out of desperation, I put a bottom box here, which is a pollen trap, which is essentially a screen bottom board. I put under that cable there's a heating lamp, small heating lamp underneath the hive, and producing heat, and it's heating the inside of that hive. And I'm hoping just that heat source is a desperate attempt to just keep them going. That heat source will provide them enough heat so that the queen feels comfortable laying, and they have a nice hot spot to start building up a brood nest. And I'm going to keep it like that until it's hot which it may never become hot. It's not going to become hot for another 2 weeks, easy. So I'm just going to see what happens. I talked to a beekeeper in, I think it was North Carolina or some other place like that, who did this all the time. And they would put heating lamps underneath their hives in the winter, so the bees would never cluster. They're always open. They're always walking around. And the clusters would be huge in the spring, though, and they'd take off quickly, so they'd really have to, it required a lot of extra feeding and staying on top of feeding. But it kept them alive and always ensured that they had big clusters in the spring and robust clusters in the spring in case they were stuck with crappy weather like we have right now. So this is sort of what I'm doing. It's just a completely desperate move. It's probably not giving off enough heat, and it's probably not doing it properly, but I gotta do what I can do. And that's what I can do, so I'm doing it. Welcome to beekeeping on the Avalon.